In this presentation, I outline much of the math and logic I utilize throughout my work in sim mathematics and systems mathematics.
Expressions. According to Zim mathematics, all expressions are somehow true. It is the mathematician's job to find out how any stated expression, symbolic, mathematical expression, or formula or postulate, or some art is true. This creative axiomatic approach opens the doors to expression mathematics. Additional expressibility options are also available with principal and/or open domain and/or pseudo expressions of principal and/or open domain and/or pseudo expressions of some unknown length of expressions of principal and/or open domain and/or pseudo expressions. And this is said to give available expression options for consciousness, knowledge states, intelligence, intellect, time historical interpretations, or other knowledge paradigms and their interpretations. Not to mention being a very interesting mathematical expressibility concept in itself. The Greeks long ago said we had what was called intelligence, human intelligence. They didn't talk expressibility of principal and or pseudo domains, but here's how I interpret the intelligence we've been familiar with. Where human intelligence is said to incorporate expressions of expressions dynamic, and where principal expressions of principal expressions versus some expression of some expression X is considered. The measurement of intelligence is given with this expressibility and expression outcome, given also by functional expression and non-expression. This is how we get our measurement of so-called intelligence and expressibility, intelligence, expressibility. And here we have outlined below singular objects giving multiple single and paired objects. This is a part of expressibility measurement for intelligence. In the following slides, I'll give more information. Subsequent resultant reducibility options are outlined below, where plus is some expression or operational expression option needed for incorporation of a reducibility option of any expression to give principal and viable systems of expression or principal knowledge systems. These options could explain Earth life expressibility variations, such as mankind's use of two hands, two eyes, and other life form expressibility intelligences and their variability. See the next slide. These outlines, utilizing various principal constructs, could represent the source to various Earth life systems intelligences, such as octopus math, insect math, plant math, unicellular math, humanity math. I'm trying to show here the options we have in mathematically in creating viable knowledge systems on Earth, reducing express systems to a viable principal system. And I'll go to the next slide. Some more expression math examples are here. Now, I indicate in this presentation the use of parentheses to denote various kinds of expression. And I'm going to go through the different variations that I imply when I use this parentheses. Parentheses indicate expression of numeric or principal numeric, like or unlike, complete or incomplete, known or unknown, object and or objects, and where principal operation expression plus, red plus, as principal numeric, like, complete, known or unknown, object and or objects. Or it could indicate a pseudo operational expression with a black plus as pseudo-numeric, like or unlike, complete or incomplete, known or unknown, object and or objects. This is my first take on an outline for what is a principal expression. Any series of individual objects could be perhaps a principal expression. Any series of objects, individual objects expressed by principally expressed as complete systems could also be a source to principal expression. Now I have pseudo expressions below, and that's just anything that's it's an expression of an expression. Like I say, human intelligence is said to consist of primarily expressions of expressions, giving the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But here I put it in math, and that's because this gives nothing but misinformation. An expression of an expression leaves out individual expression, which leaves out information of the individual expression. And the more you express, the more it leaves out. And so that's how I come up with that. Principally expressed creation. These principal expressions may also represent knowledge systems utilized by other known life systems on Earth, such as plants and unicellular animals. These variations could represent some of the different life forms we have on Earth as some form of principal expression. And I'll go on. Utilizing again my philosophy of creative math that all objects are somehow true, and we all do talk about expressions of male, female, and creation and all this. So I try to figure out how it's true, and access to principal expressions make available existential, social, and otherwise domains of sanity. Mankind is traditionally expressed or intellectually expressed may be represented as male as a principal expression source and female as a principal source to open domain. So the moral of this story is brush up on your math. It's got to make sense somehow. This, of course, is another fascinating take on expression mathematics. We talk about expression and functionality. How does this affect our thoughts on logic? Greeks felt there was such a thing, and I think these outlines in the next few slides show what happens to logic within the systems or expression math paradigm. Here we show principal numeric objects as completely expressed, and our other expressions or even pseudo expressions in multiple objects or as open series are said to be equal in expressibility, or what do you mean by equal? That's a good question. They are equal in that they are developable and reducible to a principal pseudo system or principal system or pseudo system or principal and or pseudo system. They are developable and reducible to any of that. Here in this slide we have the same outline as in the prior slide, only these are said to be partially expressed systems, operational systems or otherwise, and the partially expressed numeric objects are said to be logically equal, and the pseudo objects, the partial objects, system objects as partially expressed also, are said to be not equal, A, B, C, D in this exhaustive series. And what I mean by not equal or not logical in this case is that the principal objects can be developed principally and reduced to principal objects. where the pseudo objects A, B, C, D, and Z, although they can be developed, they cannot be reduced to any sort of pseudo and or principal object, and because they are missing the object information, individual objects information, and so they would not be equal as principal and or pseudo objects of any construct, any kind. This expression outline variation is different in that we have expressions of expressions, groups of expressions, and they are said to be either partially and or completely expressed, but they are all shown to be equal, not equal, or illogical statements, you could say. I don't know what you're supposed to do with logic or, what is the utility of such a understanding. As we all know, there's perhaps not much utility to contemporary reasonings of logic. It's just something we do. But the thing here is, what I'm saying is that these expressions, the objects expressed as partially and or completely expressed as expressions of expressions cannot be developed and reduced to any sort of principal and or pseudo object. They would be missing information, and they from their individual objects, and so that is why I say that is an illogical statement or not equal. Here is more so-called logic from my expression mathematics. These same expressions as in the prior slide are said to be principally expressed, meaning they are completely expressed, complete systems of operational systems of expression. And yet still, they are said to be not equal in that they cannot be developed and reduced to any pseudo and or principal system. And so they're said to be, the information is not available, and so it's said to be not equal or maybe illogical. In contemporary knowledge paradigms, science paradigms, we are constantly trying to exhaustively parameterize any object and or objects. Now, within expression math, we have some new expressibility options, giving new logic outcomes, and I don't know what utility those logic outcomes have. I think they have some. I'll have to think about it some more. But here I gave some variations on exhaustive parameterizations with principal numeric objects, pseudo objects, and or combinations, and I think we get some very interesting variations to expression ability and outcomes. And conditional logic can be shown with the following systems math expressions. Here I have complete expression, systems expression of object and or objects. And a variation of the complete expression is shown in the second series of system expressions. I say with available expression constructs mentioned above, this gives us known variations in gravity, energy, relativity, and many other possibilities. And that's using numeric objects, principal objects 1, or pseudo objects n, or all the other variations in math constructs I've shown in this slide, prior slides. More logic in math art. Now, I think this is a very significant expression outline for equality and non-equality, is giving logic systems of expression math. Very useful in the idea of expression and non-expression expressed as some functional outcome, and how we could ever come up with such a thing. And here, this might help us think about that. And I'm not really sure what to make of all this, or what we would even do with any interpretation of this. Kind of like logic as it is, maybe already. Just something to think about. The Greeks said there was logic, and but they never considered it within systems math or expression math. So so they should would have enjoyed thinking about this, I'm sure. I don't know how many people have read the Bible much or heard about it. They talk about God's garden in the book of Genesis in the Bible. What could a God's garden be? But it's a cool idea. We all thought it was a cool idea, but maybe this helps explain what was being referred to in the book of Genesis, but as taught by Moses. Principal numeric objects one as complete expressions, system expressions of singular, paired, and multiple objects could give a source, principal expression source to any so-called object, and that could be God's garden. Within the same expression outline in the prior slide, we have these variations of expressibility, combining the principal numeric objects, one with these other system expressions could give the source and the variability to outcomes of our intellect, our life, and or our souls. Now, there are those of us who, of course, are going to want to explain all this in terms of our history, perceived cause and effect, outcomes, and time sequences. And, I have a problem with that with my expression math and systems paradigm. First of all, contemporary items and event model of history could consist of the variations of system expressions I show here. And for any construct that you model these history of any items and or events, A, B, C, Z, whatever, could be said to be expressed in all these different combinations, which would give a wholly, totally different interpretation on any contemporary or so-called time depiction of any items and events you could think of at all. Here's a so-called history of an items and event sequence that may not be considered in our historical interpretations of today. And here, this could represent a numeric series or sequence for any object and or objects, which could be said to give a new history or time sequence depiction, or a history of any items and events. Any object and or objects could be expressed in a new numeric series, principal series with this, giving a perfectly viable knowledge system, reducible and developable in this case. And here's an additional interpretation of the history concept for any depicted items and or events or object and or objects. It's more utilizing expression mathematics principles here. expressing any object and or objects as some variation of expression and non-expression. Here I have principal numeric object 1 as expressing an open domain, um, a singular, paired, and multiple objects. Would give it variations of these expressions would give a different history of any so-called items and or events history expression. I consider Jesus' teachings on earth as one of the foundations to contemporary knowledge systems, science even. It's been utilized basically implicitly and or explicitly to a large extent, so a lot of it has been left by the wayside. I try to flesh out a lot of the implicit and or explicit nature of it. Here we have Jesus as completely expressed as principal numeric object 1 under 0 himself, as a principal numeric object 1 under 0, as a complete system with other options of principal numeric object expression. 1 and 0 as perhaps, what would that be? A functional, I forget what. Jesus as 0 would be the Holy Spirit. Jesus as a principal numeric object 1 would be the Father. And himself on earth as a top line. And his teachings would be described as expressions also of earth combined, functionally combined to give the teaching outcome on earth. And so I'll go on to the next slide. Here we have the expression where Jesus' given principal teachings were as completely expressed. His principal teachings would give Jesus 1 and or 0 as equal to 1 and 0 as equal to principal numeric object 0 as equal to principal numeric object 1, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And Jesus on earth creation as developable to a principal system and reducible to a principal and or pseudo system. That would be his teachings on earth. Here's some more fleshing out. Jesus' principal teachings include the complete and or partially earthly expression shown below, after expressed as a principal expression and combined with earthly pseudo principal expressions. The earth expressions are, our life on earth as we know it, and Jesus' expression are a variation of that by being completely expressed, giving principal numeric objects 1 and 0 and their principal outcomes. Combined, they give the teachings of Jesus on earth. To me, what I'm saying here is perfectly obvious to me and my creative math and mathematical background, but I'll try to explain it in English. This represents the complete life of Jesus, Earth Jesus, not principal Jesus, but Earth Jesus 1 and or 0 as completely expressed, as derived from the prior expressions of his teachings, principal teachings on pseudo-Earth, and is the complete expression of his pseudo-life, Earth, as a complete minus expression, or so-called, would give the derivations of the results of his principal teachings on earth. I'll show in the next slide. The result of the expression of the prior slide, the complete system expression, pseudo and principal of Earth Jesus life, would give this expression, giving a resultant Earth and Jesus principally expressed Earth kingdom, so-called, quote unquote, with no earthly pseudo-derivatives. This is a knowledge system, principal knowledge system on earth, as expressed by Jesus, without pseudo-derivatives of Earth Jesus as 1 and or 0, which would be a partial expression of Jesus, Earth Jesus. The complete expression on the prior slide would give A complete expression with no earthly derivatives of his teachings, Jesus 1 and 0, or Jesus 0, or Jesus 1, and this will give us access to principal system development outcomes and reducible to our own earthly principal systems, and that's why it's an important outcome. The importance of this is to give access to knowledge of complete systems of negative expressions of pseudo-earth knowledge, which are fundamentally derivatives of the famous but misunderstood tree of knowledge of good and evil found in the book of Genesis at the beginning of the Bible. This knowledge tree is widely understood to now serve as mankind's principal domain and source to intelligence, but also serves to be our sole source and principal source to humanity's quote-unquote problems.